This is Roy. He's unreliable. He never calls. He never writes. He's got this odd name. He says it stands for return on investment, but I think you should spell it R-O-Y. He's an international man of mystery, and I spend my days chasing him. So I'd like to talk a little bit about how we meet him, and talk about some strategies for meeting Roy. And broadly grouped, I'll go through some of these in a little while. These are: consider your market, plan ahead, where does Roy live, use the tools that you have, and be international. And this is a slide that I think was quite impactful at when we did the ebook summit. This is your market, and specifically down here. Well, our market is books and reference, where we make interactive books. I can show you some in a while, and education. And up here is how many apps are in the categories. So there's 132,000 games, and this is a little bit old. It's probably maybe up about 5% since I put this together about a month and a half ago. There's 55,000 books. There's 72,540 apps in the Apple education category, but they represent just 4% of App Store volumes and revenues put together. So it's fairly sobering. So people say, oh, books must be way less competitive than games, and I say, well, actually, no, it's a lot more competitive than games. In fact, it's 10 times more competitive if you do some beer mat maths. It's 10 times more competitive when you start looking at how much money is being made from games versus education and books. And the whole concept of return on investment. We keep talking about dust or magic, and we've seen some great apps here today. I guess one of the issues is that magic can turn to dust without return on investment. And certainly, magical companies can quickly turn to dust without return on investment. We've also heard about some of the issues with discovery, with categorization. I mean, this is, again, it's a pretty powerful screenshot. This is Apple's subcategorization. Now, education is up there. Education, is it pre-K? Is it kindergarten? Is it continued education? It's all in one. It's all lump number one. And there's no kids category either, so that's a big problem. And this is a similar issue on Google Play. Now, Google Play at least are bringing in their educational Google Play for Education, which might help things a little bit. But again, I think we'll have some categorization issues within that section as well. I want to look at then self-published book apps. The question came up about apps. If there were any apps that taught children how to deal with bullying. So this is an app actually called Dandelion. The interesting thing about this app, do people know it? It was in the Editor's Choice, Apple's Editor's Choices for 2012. And it was actually made from a Kickstarter campaign. And they raised $36,000. Now this is, I haven't tracked it. I did check on it this morning after November. I just couldn't grab the screen in time. But this is how the charts looked. So you can see that it broke outside into the top 100 twice in the books category. Now, we've occupied every possible known chart position in the books category. I reckon that the $36,000 delivered a ROI of probably negative $35,500. I think they made $500 off this app. So it's a very, very difficult space to make money. I'm sorry to end the day on such a depressing note, but I will talk about some techniques as to how one might be able to meet Roy. And we're going to look at where Roy lives. Now this is one of the costs of one of our apps. It's probably one of our classic books. I can show you a couple of those in a moment if you want. And it costs us about $35,000 to make an app. And if we're lucky, we meet Roy around about here, where that green dot is. Let's see my pointer coming up. Yeah, so we meet Roy around here. And I don't, the time scale of this is probably months, so we're probably lucky with this app and that we recouped in the first month. So it's important to understand that return on investment is really how much money you make beyond the amount of money which you've recovered, money that you've spent. So Roy lives in here, and it's very, very happy days when you're spending your time in there. We've made other apps though. And here's one where we got very, very worried. This was an app, Jim will remember it well. And actually, this app had a very, very happy ending. We did meet Roy. We met Roy about 7 months after we made the app. You can see if I look at the, if we look at the blue section under here. Sorry, this is a. Let me just go back a slide. Yeah. So you can see. In here, yeah, it's about 6 or 7 months. We actually, when we designed this app, we said we were going to spend $10,000 making an app. We ended up spending $45,000 making this app, which it's our best app. I mean, absolutely, hands down, our best app. And then we were, well, I was losing sleep over it. I don't know if Jim was losing too much sleep, but I was certainly losing sleep over it. And then actually, this is a big secret that I'm about to tell you. This is when we launched on Google Play. There is a dearth of high-quality apps for education available on Google Play. And Google jumped on this, and they loved it. And they put it on the front page globally. And then suddenly, hey, we met Roy. We're very, very happy about that. What I would say to you is, when you're from a planning perspective, if you want to have a meeting with Roy, plan ahead. I would think that you probably need to know now what you're going to be launching in January. Certainly, your distribution partners do. Apple and Google need to know what your roadmap is. Early communication is really, really critical. And when I say partners, channels like Apple, Google, Amazon, but also media and testers as well. Did anybody watch the Google, or did anybody actually go to the I/O keynote last week? No, did anybody watch it? It was long, wasn't it? I mean, it really was long. I actually went to Google in Ireland and sat through the whole thing. But a really interesting thing is they've introduced now the beta test groups. So you can now actually, and Google's a great platform. Google's a fantastic platform to iterate on, to lead your development on, because you can actually launch something very quickly. You don't go through a review process. You just simply will launch it. You can make changes, launch it again. But now you can do that with a closed group of beta testers. So that's another thing that you can do planning ahead. And I've said roadmap communication is critical, and then meeting those dates on that roadmap is also critical. The other thing that I'm saying is, you need to use the tools that you have. You need to take a portfolio approach to your apps. And by the way, just to be clear, StoryToys is a family entertainment focused company. We're not specifically an ed tech company. So we would tend to be quite commercial in our approach and very, very marketing driven. One thing that I would also say is we do promote our own apps very, very heavily within our other apps. We have a return rate of 1 in 1,000. So only one app per 1,000 actually gets returned, and we have a complaint rate of even less than that. So we're quite happy with the level of internal marketing that we do, and this will become clear in a moment. It's really important that you leverage the power of your other apps. We've heard about this. We've heard, cross-promotion is really, really important. I would also say you can use free to drive audience growth, but do take advantage of it quickly. Maybe perhaps just no more than 1 week after or before you're ready to launch a new app, maybe do a little free campaign. And know when to talk to your users. You don't over-message them. I think that's one of the key things we have such a low return rate, is that we don't over-message our users. And then build things into your apps that can help drive retention. So what are the tools that you have? Well, the first tool is your current audience. And you can see this is a chart. So this is probably, it's about a month's usage of one of our apps. So we've had, 66,000 new users over that time, playing 1.6 million play sessions. So, of course there's going to be a percentage of those people, they obviously like our app. And you can see those spikes, by the way, they're the weekends. That's when people use our apps on the weekends. So they start spiking on a Friday evening, then right through the Sunday evening, and then the usage drops off during the week when kids are back in school. So you should leverage that audience. The other great tool that you have is Actionable Data. And this is not the same app, but this is, we're actually
people know what Flurry is. How many people use Flurry? How many people have read Flurry's terms and conditions for COPPA compliance? Yeah, so, you know, you've got to be careful about what you have in your apps. We're in the process of taking things out of our apps that used to be in there. But this is Flurry data, and it's just showing us this is actionable data. So we know that we had 1.8 million views of our cross-marketing screen over that period of time. So they're the two tools that you have, and using those tools you can create opportunities. You can create opportunities in many ways. I mentioned free earlier on. This is creating an opportunity for free. We've heard this mentioned a couple of times. Bjorn mentioned it about the initial lift when getting, I think it was Toka Hair, setting it free, what it did. We heard it last night in the context of the touch press apps, the thing in Japan. This is a similar moment for us. This is actually very, very recent. This is World Book Day. On World Book Day, International World Book Day, we always have as a company set all of our apps free for that day to encourage downloads and reading. We normally get 50, 60,000 units. We got 600,000 units over the course of a 36-hour period. And of course, that sets up an audience for a launch in the coming weeks. Now, there's a lot of people who will download free apps, but I would call them, about half of them are app hoarders. It's free, they get it, they never launch it. But half of the 600,000 did activate, and then a percentage of those then went on to purchase other apps in the coming weeks. And that, by the way, was the result of that opportunity. This is the top free apps. It's actually the books list, but you can see Kindle's at number 3 and iBooks is at number 6. So I think it was a pretty good promotion for us. The other opportunities you can create are in the cross-promotion section. This is our cross-promotion screen. And we've had a lot of commentary, a lot of, let's say, constructive discussions with our distribution partners about this. We've actually stopped this popping up. It used to pop up automatically. As I said, we had a very, very low complaint rate. But whenever we launch a new app, and you can see the checkbox, and whatever iPad this is grabbed on, when we have one of our other apps on it, it shows you all of the apps that you have. It tells people that we have a new app. This is really, really important in terms of trying to create and return on investment. We found that when we launched, I think it was when we launched Grimm's Puss in Boots, that 70% of new users to Grimm's Puss in Boots then went and purchased 2 more of our apps, or 2 of our apps or more within a week of actually downloading the first app. So, you know, people, I'm guilty of the same. You know, we look at the games industry, we get very jealous of their lifetime value-driven business models and their daily ARPPUs, and they're not so jealous of their cost per acquisitions. But you can actually build a lifetime value-driven business with single purchase point apps if you know who your customers are. And by the way, you could do it on a COPPA compliant basis as well. We track a lot of things. We track a lot of things apart from who people are. We do track cohorts in aggregate. So you can see this is some retention data. And sorry, I'm getting quite spreadsheet heavy here, but we have a metric system in our apps. So there are off-the-shelf tools, but be very, very careful about whose you choose. Make sure you're not setting your data on, and make sure that you are working on a COPPA compliant basis. We actually use, I put up this as an example because this is actually just a Google document spreadsheet that's fed live with the data, the usage data from our apps. So, you know, you don't have to spend a lot of money, you just have to need to expose certain points of interaction. And then this shows us how our apps convert to new sales. And the power of audience really is this. You know, this was, this is Jungle Bug. So we just launched this a week ago. And you can see how it's just moved straight into the #1 position in the charts in many, many markets. And it did that because we were able to look at the cohorts of groups that we use, look at people who have a lot of our apps, and message those users and say, you know, why don't you try another one of our apps? And these are the types of messages that we do. We try to just only show them once, only show them when the app isn't being used, like when it's on a background screen or it's on a menu screen. We never interrupt the user's play.
The other thing that I talk about is internationalization. When you were at the Google I/O conference, you saw this map on the screen. I love this map. This is what Google Maps looked like in 2005. Do you notice anything missing? So basically, most of the world is missing beyond the US and the UK, and Ireland's in there too. Ireland's in there too because Google's European headquarters are in Ireland, so you can be sure it's not by design. There's no France, no Spain, no Italy. And when you consider that, no Germany, and Germany is the second highest reading population, I think, per capita population, regular readers in in the world. It's not a market we could afford to ignore. I talk to people in Europe, and localization is and culturalization is just part of life. But I talk to people in the US, they go, oh, localization is so expensive. Localization is not expensive. This is our Sleeping Beauty app, and so just to say, I mean, we spend less than $1,000 per language. We get professionally narrated, professionally actor narrated, including our recording and our localization and our marketing localization for the App Store. It costs us less than $1,000 per language. Now, Jim, how many words are in our books?
1,050.
Yeah, so there's not a huge amount of text, but a lot of the more game-like apps have even less text than that. You are leaving so much money on the table if you have text in your apps and you're not localizing it. And I'll give you another picture from the app stores. This was the launch. And by the way, these are the paid app charts. This was the when we launched Sleeping Beauty, and this is the I think this is the French charts, and this is the German charts, and this is the Spanish charts. Now, these are not markets that have the volume of the US individually, but together, they actually would exceed the volume of the US on a regular basis, particularly these charts. So you are leaving money on the table if you don't look at localization. So in summary, if you'd like to meet Roy, it's a competitive market, but you can rise above it. Now, it is becoming more competitive. We've heard a lot about money being put into the space, and StoryToys took on money as well. And we're hearing about big brands getting in and volumes, and can a new entrant compete? I believe that new entrants compete because, quality does rise to the top. Warren, would you agree with me on that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if you have a high quality app and you can follow some of these simple things. Now, there's a question that I know that I'm going to ask, but I'll try to preempt it in a moment. If you have a high-quality app and you can circulate it at an early enough stage to people who can help influence the purchase of that, you can actually get your app up the app charts. Once you get there, then it's in your own hands. If you get into that top 25, you definitely build a good marketing base for your next app. We've heard lots. I'm not going to talk about quality. We've heard lots of brilliant ideas and seen lots of high-quality apps. So there's no point in me spending any time on that. But do leverage your reputation and leverage the momentum that your first app creates. Take a portfolio view. Look at how you can push your next apps out to your existing audience. How can you widen your audience for your older apps? I think I probably got a gratuitous couple of bullet point in here, which I do. Things are changing. Certainly, we pay strong attention to this. There's a lot available to see online. Be very, very wary. Again, Bjorn mentioned it yesterday of partners. Not the wrong kind of partners. The wrong kind of partners were the app promoters who are saying, hey, you know what? We can guarantee you a top 5 position if you spend $6,000 with us in your chart, or in some cases at Christmas or Thanksgiving, $60,000 with us. This is not really a place to go. It's not a big win, and certainly you'll find yourself running into trouble quite quickly in terms of user data. You'll find yourself running into trouble quickly in terms of what you can and I suppose what you can and can't do from an advertising perspective. Which if people are familiar with the new COPPA rules, promoting your own apps seems to be okay. There's questions around how heavily you do it, and unfortunately there's a lack of clarity or a lack of guidelines around that. I think some of these things will resolve themselves, but certainly getting involved in massive app aggregators is probably not a good idea. I had another bullet point there. I've taken it off. That's our website, and I'll happily take any questions.
I'm really interested in the COPPA stuff because we're making this now too, and I was just wondering, is your strategy to avoid verifiable parental consent at all costs?
No, our strategy is to avoid collecting uniquely identifiable user information as is defined by COPPA. We don't have anything we require people to log in for at the moment. That might change in the future. To be honest, less is more in the case of COPPA sometimes. We see a lot of COPPA compliant apps. Sometimes they're just compliant through ignorance. So they're sort of just compliant through ignorance of COPPA. Sometimes you see just crazy stuff happening. And for us, we like to know who our users are. We can define cohorts of users depending on what sort of languages that they're using, what time of day that they're using our apps, what the localization settings are. Note that's not where they are. We're not accessing location data. We're trying to capture the minimum required level of information that we need to function. So far, most of that is not falling under anything we need to be careful of with regard to COPPA.
One last tiny little detail is your stuff's good.
Yeah, thank you.
You got to have the quality, and just this, it has the definite wow when I'm tilting the device. There's a lot of ways that this says I'm in control. You can, very responsive, and then everything you see, you get something. Even the back, I'm touching the back, and I get a reaction. So this kind of control just pulls a child in. This is how I test the apps, by the way. I just see that. See those carrots there? Those should do something. Oh, they do. Good. The ratings are going up. Hello? There's a door. It should open.
It should open.
Fix that. Right. Fix that. Get on that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
There were
surprising.
some more questions, I think.
No, we got to eat. Right?
Well, I'm happy to talk to anybody if they want to ask me about any of these points. But thank you for listening.
So, yes, thank you.